Go for the stars.
4, 3, 2, 1.
This is the Produce Your Own Life podcast. Life is a script. It's time to write your story. Welcome your host, actor, director, producer, writer, and author of the recently released book, Shattered, A Journey Through the Pieces, the man who inspires millions through storytelling and interviews, the one, the only, Rodney Damon Collins.
What's up? This is the Produce Your Own Life show. My name is Rodney. I am the host and creator of the show. Make sure you like, subscribe to the show on my YouTube channel, which is the Produce Your Own Life Network. Make sure you like, share this through Facebook, Twitter, which is Periscope, and any other platform that you are viewing this on. Also, any listeners, we want to thank you to all the listeners from the 12 countries that we have listeners in, and we welcome more countries to join our beautiful movement here. Make sure you like, rate, and share the podcast on every podcast platform available, including Apple, Spotify, and iHeart. Today on my show, this is the double header. We batting cleanup on the double header today. I'm excited to have this very special guest come to the stage. She is in a city that there's a lot of stuff is happening right now. I'll let her say that if she wants to say what city. But she is an actress. She is a writer. She is a podcast host. And she is just killing it. She's a very, 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 very busy woman. That's something I learned. So we're going to talk about that. And without further ado, please join me as I welcome my very special guest, Tonya Todd. Boom.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for coming in. How you feeling today?
You know, I recognize the voice on the voiceover. That's our boy BZ, isn't it?
It is. That's our boy. Yeah. I asked him, to bless my show with his incredible voice because I thought it was really cool. So.
Yeah, well, guess what? I did the same thing, and he is the the voice announcer for my show too.
You know what? His voice should be everywhere because, but we'll show BZ some love later. It's about you right now.
Okay, I'm just saying, if you have a friend and his name is The Voice, you might want to make him part of your show,
We're going to say, too, we're going to give a quick commercial. Anybody who's looking for an incredible voiceover artist who can do the voiceover for your shows, a lot of things. I think we have pretty good voices, but BZ, the voice is excellent. So make sure you look him up, connect with him. That is my brother. And we are grateful for him. Tonya and I both are cool with him. So, but now we're talking to an incredibly busy and productive woman. That's what we did from a conversation we had. And, you're extremely busy. You're actress, podcast host, you're event host, you're putting together writers events and workshops and things such as that in a pretty nice city that we all like to go travel to. So why don't you break it down? Tell us what you're up to right now. Give us a little breakdown.
Well, we can say it. I'm in Las Vegas.
Okay. I want to be okay with saying the city,
Yeah, I know. It means that I'm not technically a local when I work in LA, but my brother lives there. It's fine.
Cool.
Non-pandemic times, it hasn't been an issue.
Oh, cool.
So right now, acting wise, most of my acting projects are things I can't really announce yet. I do have 2 shorts coming up and a DC fan series, but for the other stuff, just keep an eye on my IMDb page for those updates. Outside of acting, I am working on a lot. I'm writing 2 screenplays for clients, and I'm working on a novel for myself.
Yes.
I'm part of an organization called Henderson Writers Group, and they are the largest writing group in Southern Nevada. My job was to secure faculty for the upcoming writing conference that we're hosting next month. We do it every year. Last year, we had 2 weeks to turn it into an online conference after everything shut down. We are doing it online again this year. And I have to say that this year's lineup is absolutely amazing. And our friend BZ is actually going to be reading pages for people because we have a first page panel session. We do 2 of those. Yes, and people have their pages read in front of agents and publishers so that they can get feedback on whether they would continue reading or request more. And so I have BZ and I have Joe Sands, who is a narrator, they are going to read the pages so that they sound amazing. And if anything stops the agents, it's going to be the writing itself, not because someone tripped over the reading.
I love that. That's
and then, as you know, my oh, go ahead. What were you saying?
I was saying that's attention to detail. That's attention to detail. That's very important.
Well, you know, I've been at conferences where you have someone who's a voice actor who volunteers to read, and then you have someone who just volunteers and they're just trying to help. And so you have this person reading the work and it sounds amazing. And then the person who's just trying to help. And so it's not really a fair thing. You know, it's not fair. This time we have 2 amazing voice actors and they are all going to sound great.
All right. And when does that take place?
That is April 8th through 10th of this year.
Oh, wow. So
it's coming up.
2.5 weeks away, something like that?
Yeah.
That? Wow.
We are almost there.
Yeah, but
and the week after, I might be able to breathe.
Hopefully you take some time for yourself. Go get a nice massage, do something, you know.
Something.
Yeah, you know, you definitely need to take care of yourself as well, because you do go very hard. And, you know, with you being a writer, are any of your pieces being read in this as well, or?
No, because, you know, gratefully, I signed with an agent in November. So I don't, you know, I can't say that. I might submit my first pages because I have other things that are still works in progress. I haven't decided yet, but I could. I'm not trying to find an agent this year because I found one, but I always have works in progress. And by the time the conference comes around, I should have a few first pages for different things that maybe I will sign up for that.
Man, you just made me think of one last question about that. I know a few writers who may want to try to submit. Is it too late for them to submit?
No. For the conference, if you're part of Henderson Writers Group, it's $99, which is a $50 discount from everybody else, but the membership is $50. So, you know, it's kind of a wash.
Yes.
And we have agents, publishers. We also have producers and people who do treatments. So we have writing across the board. The only thing that isn't really represented this year is poetry. We do have poetry represented some years, but not so much this year. But all different genres, screenwriting, you know, whatever you're interested in. And then for the first page reads, you submit $5 per page.
Okay.
You can do one page and, you know, say you want to put in 3 entries. You can do $15, same page. It just increases the chance that your page will get read. And that money goes to a student scholarship where each year we have students submit pieces, you know, they're written pieces. We get a letter of recommendation and we have, you know, a panel of judges read through their work and grade them. And we give out $1,000 scholarship to whatever college they attend. Oh. And that's where those $5 goes into that scholarship.
I love that. I love that. So you're taking care of students.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
they also get to go to the conference for free, which is
that's a major plus right there.
Right. Yeah. And then, you know, the thing that's taking up most of my time that we haven't even said is the new podcast, which you know, because you are going to be a guest on week 14. Last year, I wrote a blog all year long. It came out every week. And it was 52 Love, which is 52 love lessons in 52 weeks. And after I signed with my agent, we're trying to turn this into a book. And as part of that platform, we have the 52 Love podcast where we explore each of those tips with a new guest each week. And you are my guest for week 14. And we should mention that it airs April 5th.
Oh, make sure we go get that out there so everybody is listening, because I really enjoyed being on your show. And I think
he is an amazing husband, and you get to hear why.
Well, I put it like this. I've learned throughout the years to be an amazing husband. Put it like that.
Yeah.
My wife has a lot to do there. Having an incredible woman, you know, beside you helps you.
That helps.
An amazing husband. So definitely. And then you have accountability. So that's a whole nother level. But now you're a writer. So when did you develop this passion for writing? Has it always been a gift, or you developed it, you know, at school? You know,
I don't know that I would say it was a gift. You know, you never feel like you're really good at your craft, you always feel like you need to do better.
Yeah.
I loved writing as a kid, and I will say that I had encouragement from teachers, but I never thought that it would be something I could do as a career. Part of that is, when you're growing up, you don't see a whole lot of people in the industry who look like you. You think, well, that's not for me. There are no characters who look like me. There are no authors who look like me. But I still like reading books, and I loved writing. But a few years ago, I woke up from this crazy dream, and I just had to start writing it down. And I started writing it. And it was a dream about a character that I was going to play. And I wasn't an actor yet, but I like to do cosplay and stuff. I liked doing that kind of thing. I was about to dress up for something. I used to put on these elaborate Halloween parties, and the character that I was going to be that year was in this dream, and this story started happening, and I started writing it. And then I heard about this thing called fan fiction, which I didn't know anything about that. And I realized, I guess I'm writing that. And as I was writing that, I kept getting all these other ideas and realizing, this isn't this character. Let me put this over here. This isn't her. Let me put this over here. And eventually I'm over here, and I'm just writing this story. And I never even finished that fan fiction story. This novel took over, and 200,000 words later, I realized I might have a book or 3 on my hands.
Wow. So,
and I haven't stopped writing since.
And I love writing because it allows me, when I write, it allows me to escape, like into somebody else's life that maybe, I may not ever have really walked in had I not, started writing about that person.
Right.
So it's kind of cool. It's like, what would you say is one of your favorite things you like about writing?
Oh, I love language. And I'm one of those people who has to tone back the language some. People are like, oh, that's a thesaurus word. Yeah, but it's a word I use. So it might be a thesaurus word for you, but it's a word that I use. But I get that can be alienating for some people. And so my first character is just someone who talks like that, because it was really difficult for me to sound like a normal person,
I love this. Some of the most beautiful things are when it's not completely intentional, that, you're like, I'm going to do this with the character. But as you start fashioning and putting it together, it's like, perfect. This person is perfect. This character is perfect.
Yeah, she's anachronistic, and we're just going to let her be who she is.
There it is. Would you like to see some of your work turned into film?
Absolutely. I mean, I was asked recently, if you could play any character in any show, what would it be? Well, it would be the character I wrote in a series that I'm producing, which is based on that original novel that I wrote. And the reason for that, a few years ago at Las Vegas Writers Conference, I met a woman who is actually going to be at the conference this year too.
Okay.
But at the time, I was pitching her my novel, which was not ready yet. But when you get free pitches with the cost of the conference, and so you don't want to waste that chance. Even if you're not ready, go practice, get your feedback, learn what you can do to improve for when you are ready. It's not a waste, and you're not going to throw that contact away because you just say, "Hey, I'm still learning how to do this." You don't want to waste that FaceTime with someone, No,
you don't.
So she said to me, you don't want to pitch this as just a book. This should be a miniseries starring you. And at that point, I was about 4 months into acting as a professional, and I was like, that seems a little hubristic. And I wasn't writing screenplays yet. And it was just, no, let me just shut that door right in my face. Yeah, very foolish. But now, I've attended many more conferences and met a lot of amazing people that I've been able to network with, and they're like, yeah, she was right and you were stupid, and you should have taken that opportunity because it sounded like she was interested. And so I wrote it as a screenplay last year.
Really?
Yeah. And guess who's going to be pitching her this year?
You?
And maybe the opportunity has passed, but I'm not closing the door this time.
Yeah. And you just never know. So I love to hear that, because you got you got everything done, and I'm ready to see it. I'm gonna put it out there that we are going to see it on the screen, see the ideal character. You've had a chance to play a lot of different characters. Like, what's your process that you go through when you develop a character?
Well, the first thing I do is pretty much the same thing I do when I'm writing. I have to figure out, what does this character want?
Okay.
What is this character's internal need? If you don't know the character's desire, well, for me, if I don't know a character's desires, I don't know the emotion that goes into playing her.
Yes.
And so I tap into that. And then from there, I try to find my connection with the character, because, we're assigned roles where that's just not us. That's not our personality type. And so you have to find, well, where do we connect? Where do we vibe? Where can I understand this person? Like, I played Lady Capulet, and I was never a fan of her when reading Romeo and Juliet. I'm a Mercutio fan, and I mean, I love Tybalt. Yeah. I did love him, but I wasn't a fan of Lady Capulet because she was just so mean, it seemed like, and she didn't pay enough attention to things. And once I played her and I tapped into her situation, and she has a 13-year-old daughter, and she wasn't much older than that when she had her. She has no power in this situation. It was an arranged marriage. Like, when you start feeling their situation, and so she's in this marriage she didn't even want. She had to do for duty, and she has to try to arrange the best life for her daughter so she can be as happy as possible. And then her daughter dies, and now I will never stop empathizing with Lady Capulet.
Oh my God. So that's something that when I get a character, if you get somebody that's nothing like you, that really is, that's like, I really have to work very hard on really becoming who this person is. So I love when I get something, like, get a role that's kind of written for my personality. It's like, oh, I can just roll into it.
Yeah, I just played one of those.
Isn't it sweet? It's like
people are like, you're so in character. No, I'm just showing up as me in a costume. The costume is not something I would have, pulled out of my closet, but everything else about her was, it was me.
But then you like it, because it challenges you to see what your range is.
Yeah, definitely.
And I oftentimes will get cast as, the protagonist, the good guy in a film or something like that. I would love to have a role where I play a villain, simply because I want to see how far I can, really get into that character,
and understand their motivation for why they're doing what they're doing, right?
Yeah, make the audience love me a little bit, because I get fascinated when I watch various films, and I start developing like almost a relationship. Like, I'm really getting familiar with the villain. I'm like, now I understand why you feel like that. Okay.
Who are some of your favorite villains?
Killmonger is one of my favorites.
Yeah, well, they wrote a good backstory for him in that movie. It wasn't quite what it was in the comics, but they made him very empathetic in the movie. He wasn't wrong. No, he was not wrong.
No, he was right on everything, and it just made my heart ache for what happened to him as a child. Mm-hmm. Dude never really got a shot, and this is so wrong how they're treating him. So I was like feeling more for Killmonger. Definitely, I love the Black Panther, but I was like, Killmonger's been done wrong. That's why he's walking this path. And another villain I like is Thanos. I like him. Yeah, I like him. His mindset, he actually had motives to try to really help your life, because it was twisted a little bit, a whole lot. It was twisted a whole lot. Like, kill off half the universe and then we'll be able to sustain. But the whole thing is resources. That definitely relates to what we deal with right now in this present time. Resources are becoming scarce, and how do you handle that? How do you address those issues and make sure you take care of humanity too? So I saw a lot of stuff I understood. I was like, wow. I don't agree with his tactics, No,
with that much power, you could have made a more efficient system that used the resources that we have. He was short-sighted.
Yeah, that showed.
Give me the gauntlet, I'll fix it.
He was a little twisted, right?
And he killed Loki, and I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, I was upset too. I was upset.
I have issues with the Russo brothers for that, because if it's for real, then why didn't he turn blue?
Yeah, because he
Why
didn't
did he not revert back to his original form?
Ice Giant. He didn't go back.
Right.
Mm.
So I can't trust that he's really dead.
There's another thing that makes you think. That might be another Easter egg in there.
Yeah.
What about you? You know, I've told you a couple villains I like. I know you have a couple villains that you root for.
Well, see, they're not really villains.
In your
Right.
universe, they're not villains. Okay, let's go.
Let's start with Catwoman, not a villain.
No.
Loki, not a villain. Dracula, not a villain. Van Helsing is the villain of that story. They have a bad rep, rap as a villain, but I don't consider them villains.
I agree. What about Darth Vader? You think he's a villain?
He became a villain.
Okay.
But the things that got him to where come on. If you saw the things that were going on around him, you don't know for sure you wouldn't have taken the same path. He did it for love.
Oh, man.
And can you imagine how he feels after the last trilogy? Where, now we can heal people? Why didn't anybody tell me about that? Maybe none of this would have happened.
Yeah, so
do you see this behind me? Do you want to get in this conversation?
That's why I want to be able to play a villain so you can get into that side. Because when you can make the audience empathetic towards you,
right,
that's when you're killing it. And I can see that. Man, I'm gonna really start watching villains even closer now, because except when we get to Silence of the Lambs and stuff like that, people going around eating people. I don't know what he was doing. I can't be empathetic with him on that one.
He was hungry.
Yeah, he needed a snack. So with everything that you're doing, and I know one thing that's very important to you is this one word: representation. How are you like using all these different platforms to ensure that we're going to see some representation? I know a little bit, but the audience may not know everything. So
that really makes me think, because you can't just say you want it. You have to apply action to it. It's one thing to say, to shout out on the boards, I want more representation. Representation should be fair.
Yeah.
But what are you doing to help that be a reality? And it makes me have to take stock and review. What am I doing? Am I doing enough? Am I being the voice that I should be for this?
Facts.
I didn't want to be a voice for this. I just wanted to write, I just wanted to write. I wasn't even an actor at first. I just wanted to write, and I didn't want it to be about the color of my skin. But then, you submit your work and they're like, oh, this character isn't authentically Black. And like, how are you, a white woman, going to tell me what is authentically Black?
Please, I want to understand that one.
Please teach me to be Black.
Yes. I've been doing this for a long time, so I really be curious what your take is.
And it happened over and over and over again. And so it had to become part of my conversation, and I started learning about own voices, and I had to make sure because they didn't know who I was. They just see paper. So I had to start putting it into my query letters that I am speaking from a voice who has lived this experience, which I shouldn't have to justify. Nobody else has to justify whether they can write the story or not,
Not at all.
But that's the situation. And we are making progress. We are definitely making strides.
Yes.
Some of the things that I've done were a big thing I did last year is that I curated a panel and workshop, a 5-hour workshop that was free to the public, called Paving the Way. Actually, I have the title right here. Paving the Way, Conceiving and Crafting Diverse Characters for Inclusive Literature. And we had Rodney Lee, who is a poet here in town. His work is amazing. And he, I asked for his help, and what he provided was so much more than I could have done on my own. We had 4 panelists who write across the board. And what we did is we had 50 people. It was around 50, maybe 55 people. they got to go to this workshop for free. We partnered with the Nevada Arts Council, the LGBTQ Center, Grouchy John's Coffee, and of course, Henderson Writers Group.
Yes.
So that we didn't want anyone to be excluded from writing inclusive literature. We didn't want it to be, well, if you can't afford it, you can't go.
Mm-hmm.
And so we challenged stereotypes, and we discussed different tropes, and we did writing prompts to try to get over, to apply what we learned. And we did this panel with the Q&A, and, that time flew by fast.
Wow.
And it opened up a lot more questions, but it did answer some things. And then this year at the conference, we're doing a smaller version of that in a 50-hour panel, or 50-minute panel.
I'll say, wow.
No, 50 hours.
Like,
no, the classes are 50 minutes. So we're doing a 50-minute panel it's actually with two of the original panelists are going to be there. And then one of the publishers who's going is going to do that panel too. So that is something I'm trying to do That's
huge.
I'm not of the mind that if you haven't lived the experience that you can't write it, because then how are we going to have historical fiction? How are we going to have sci-fi? If you haven't been an astronaut, you can't write about being an astronaut. Like, it's the same thing. You just have to learn what you're talking about before you start saying, well, I was up in space and I was floating around outside with new equipment, you have to know, you just have to do some research and maybe talk to people who have been astronauts.
Yeah.
Immerse yourself in the literature, in the media surrounding whatever it is you want to write,
I love it.
So that you do know what you're talking about. And if you don't have friends in that community, you need to address why is that? Why do I not have friends? I mean, you need to examine in yourself why that might be.
Yeah.
And so another thing that I'm doing is I am immersing myself in different types of literature. I read works from all different types of people and watch all different types of media, not just in my genre or in the areas which I identify, all different types. And that in turn gives me better recommendations. So it gives me a better pool of recommendations. So when people are like, oh, can you give me a book that deals with this topic? I can list 3, and they're not all going to be the same identity of that author.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that we exclude white authors or male authors. No, it's just everyone is included instead of just one.
Right. I love that. What you're doing is very powerful. And is this something that, especially with, Zoom and all these other conferences that are taking place, it's almost like you can make this thing available. And even like next year, if it's in person, you can still have people, they can come in, you can log in. So this is becoming a global thing now. Almost.
And in fact, in the past year, I have served on other people's panels because it's still a topic of conversation. And so it's not just my immediate community. Now I'm serving on panels that are reaching people all over the world. But that's more about me being blessed with people inviting me to do that stuff. But I do think it's because I put in the work.
You definitely put in the work. You wouldn't be there if you didn't. You put in so you earned it. I'm gonna say you've earned it. You've paid your dues.
Thank you.
I'm gonna say it for you. You've worked, you've shown yourself approved, and now it's your time to go to the next platform. That's why I look at it. So, it didn't happen by chance.
No, I don't think it happened by chance, because I think that so many things are connected. Like, I can sometimes just see the path of I did this, which led to this, which introduced me to this person who asked me to do this, where I met this person. And it's like you can just see all the threads and where they tied. It's all connected. And even things that you don't think are that important. Like there was a show I did, a talk show that I did. I want to say it was the first weekend in June.
Yes.
And it was right after just all the stuff with George Floyd was happening. And here I am going, I was already scheduled for that. I'm like, I'm going to promote myself this weekend.
Yeah.
Like, really? I'm going to do that? But you don't want to be the flaky guest who's like, I'm not showing up. I know you have to book people in advance. And so I didn't want to leave them hanging. They didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
But you just feel like a heel. Like, oh, let me produce my work or promote my work, And somehow we ended up on a conversation about this stuff. And that led to me doing, I want to say 2 or 3 panels about colorism and diversity or lack of diversity in publishing. And
Yeah.
it led to more important work because I got over myself and did it.
Yes.
But it was a challenge to do that show that week because I was just feeling like, what kind of person promotes their work when the world is in tragedy?
You know what? I'm going to give you some freedom right now with that mindset. It's just something I've had to learn myself because I understand exactly what you're saying. That actually speaks to how compassionate you are as a person. But there's always something, some type of tragedy going on in this world we live in. That's why it always has to be something beautiful taking place at the same time. So that doesn't say that you didn't care about what was going on. You can still deal with everything, like support it.
Mhm.
You do your thing. Like we couldn't call off work. Like if we were put like this, if you're assigned to film,
Right.
I can't be like, well, I ain't filming because George Floyd got killed. But what you can do is say,
And this is part of our job. It really is. We are supposed to be, that is what we are asked to do, is promote our own work. Like that is part of my job.
yeah,
But it feels self-serving sometimes, and it is. But if I don't do my job, the people who are working for me and around me don't get the benefits either.
that's it.
You know, I have a team of people. They rely on me to do my job so that they can do their job. And then the better I do, the more I can help the other people who are up and coming. You know, if I just stop because I'm sad, which it happens, you know, you want to, it is a tempting thing to do. Like I almost quit the blog last year.
Oh no, I love it.
I almost quit the blog because, I'm going to write about love every day when people are dying all over the world and, you know, riots are happening, but I'm going to write my love blog. And then people just out of nowhere, this is a struggle I was going on internally, and people out of nowhere started writing to me and leaving messages and sending me emails saying, thank you for giving me something positive to look forward to because there's so much tragedy. This is a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
And they weren't even all in relationships. Some of them were just people who read it for something happy.
Yeah.
Or to apply to future relationships, you know?
It's so important that you have an incredible gift, and the world needs your gift. So, and also, let me free you from the feeling of self-promotion, because that's something I used to deal with back and forth. We are each individual corporations now.
Mm-hmm.
And last time I heard, Pepsi, Nike, they've never stopped promoting and, keeping their name in the front. And you do it when you know your intentions. You can't worry about what anybody else thinks or says. When you know
I like that.
You're pure. Hey, I'm a business. I have to. This is how I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business, so I have to put it out there. What I do, what I offer, what I have coming. Just like any other commercial, people sit and watch it hours of commercials all day. Not once have they complained about seeing a commercial. But when they see a person they know, like, oh, they're always out promoting themselves. I think that for my life, for my living, I think a lot of it we can attribute to that person having their own personal issues. And it's a form of like jealousy. I'm gonna keep it real. It's a form of self-hate. And we shouldn't be doing that. No, you are. You're God's workmanship. You're amazing. And if God talks about you like that, I'll say it. God brags about you. It's okay. You're not doing it in an arrogant way, like love me, need me. And no, it's like, no, I have a gift for this world. And I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna leave this world empty. That's how, I have a responsibility to my creator to use my gifts. Anybody got a problem with that? Talk to him. Go talk to him.
Talk to God.
Go talk to him, but don't talk to me, because this is. So I just wanted to free you from that.
And I appreciate that. And you don't even know how often I look to you when I have a question. I'm like, well, what has Rodney done in this situation? And I'll just go look up something. Like even with the podcast, I knew you had a podcast. I see what you're doing. I like the quality of your work. And so I have, I just cyber stalking your accounts. Like, okay, so YouTube channel. Okay, he has this stuff on the channel. Oh, IMDb page. All right. It's on IMDb, and every one of my guests gets an IMDb credit now. It's like you are an excellent example, and I am watching you, and I'm trying to emulate what you are doing right in the industry.
Oh man, see, I had these ready too because I'm very emotional. Well, that means a lot to me, but I also pay attention to you. So you are killing it. Your blog is amazing.
Thank you.
You know, and I love the platform that you've built because it's encouraging not just young girls and women, it's encouraging men. This man right here, and I know other men are enjoying what you're putting out, and you're helping to build people. You know, I feel like
I'm trying.
You know, another thing, Yoda. I'm talking to Luke. You know what he told him?
Yes.
Yes.
There is no try.
Do or do not do.
All right, I'm doing it.
That's right, you're doing it. And you know, I just try to get rid of the word try, you know, because you've done it. You're living the life that you want.
How about this? I'm doing my best. I am doing my best.
Well, I'm gonna say you're doing exceptional. And you're the essence, once again, of being the producer of your own life.
Mm-hmm.
We have to own it. We have to take personal accountability to see the things that we want to see happen.
Right. No one's more invested in my career than I am.
Nobody.
So why should I rely on other people to get me where I need to go? Now, I'm not saying I don't benefit from friendships and relationships and networking, but that's a two-way street. You know, you need to make it benefit them too. Correct.
And if you don't, you know, I don't know. That's another story. We won't even turn down that street. Now, we're almost done because I like to respect your time. And I've kept you for, 30 plus minutes already. But everybody has life-defining moments. You know, if you look at the superhero origin stories, everybody has an origin story and that moment in their life when they're like, I know this is what I should be doing. And then they stick their chest out and like, let's go. What has been that moment for you? You know, and we have several moments like that through life. So you can't say, I want you to be like, well, I don't think I've had that big moment. Everybody's had certain moments. So there's been something in your life that's happened. It's like, okay.
There definitely have been moments like that. And it's weird because you don't always know that's what it is when it's happening.
Right.
You're just dealing with it. Mm-hmm. So 2 things came to mind when you said that.
Mm-hmm.
One is, okay, I had that dream. I wrote that book. In the book, it's a woman who quits her job and becomes an actor. I was not an actor at that point.
Hey.
I was just working a computer programming job at a market research facility. Like nothing exciting about that. And so after I wrote that crazy amount of words, I decided I should get involved with the writing group because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Well, I wrote for secret, in secret. I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want anyone killing my dream. And I have, there's the overpraisers and then there's the dream killers. And it's like, I don't need to be told that it's wonderful when I know it's not yet. And I'm still working on it. I can't trust that praise. I appreciate the encouragement, but I don't need that right now. Right. And I don't need you telling me that this is not a path I should be taking, that it's not practical. I don't need to hear that either. So I just kept it to myself.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, my boss talked to me and said, I'm sorry, you've worked here for years. We appreciate the work that you've done, but we simply can't afford to keep you anymore. And I know for a fact that they still haven't replaced me. Like they never.
He was telling the truth.
Right. That it was just, we aren't making enough money to support your salary anymore. Okay. So they gave me the exact same severance that my character got in the book. What? And he said to me, I think you would be a really good actor and model, so I'm going to introduce you to my friend so she can get you started in this business. He didn't know about the book.
Wow.
I'm working at a market research firm. There's no reason for him to think I might be interested in anything like that. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. It was nice of him to hook me up with this contact. And I learned so much from my character, just going through these experiences. I had these things written, but until you go through an audition, you don't really know. You see it on TV, but you don't know all the talking that goes on in your head and the way the people are around you and just the the protocols. You don't understand those details until you've lived through it. And it just gave me so much material for my book. Like, I already had the scenes, but it gave me the details to make it real, you know?
Yeah.
And I definitely caught the acting bug. And it was just, wow, I didn't choose this. It kind of manifested through
Chose you.
Right. Through the story that came from a dream. Like, that is God for sure.
Yes.
And then through that writing group, another thing that came to mind, which is kind of separate, but I was super shy. Like, I would sit in the back and I would read my page. Like, when I had to read, I would have the paper shaking in front of my face. And so it would be like, let me read my story, because I was so nervous that my hands were shaking and I couldn't read it very well, because, you know, how can you read a shaky paper?
Right.
They couldn't hear me because I was just too soft spoken and too nervous. And I was really just terrified to expose. It's your soul, like the stuff that you write.
It is.
It is so different from playing a character, because that's somebody else's words. You're just portraying somebody else.
Yes.
But when it's your writing, that is cutting you open and you're like, tell me what's wrong with this. Your insides are all exposed. So I was very nervous in this group. And I'm not big on big social groups anyway. Like, I'm not big on crowds.
I understand.
So I would hide in the back and say as little as possible. And then they offer critique for people. And the idea is everyone is available to offer critique. But I didn't feel like I knew enough about what I was talking about to ever raise my hand or say anything. But a few months into me being part of the group, I mean, they were wonderful to me. They welcomed me. They were encouraging. They gave me great advice. They were very nurturing. And the president at the time, Gregory Compass, he was at the front and he said, we've been given this opportunity. There is a coffee shop in town that wants to partner with the writing group and start having monthly meet and greets where they bring in authors to share their work and, you know, expand their audiences, and they'll serve 10-cent coffee. And they're going to call it Dime Grinds, which is this right here.
Right. There we go. Little plug. Right.
But I mean, it's free to the public.
Yeah, it's cool.
But it's an amazing program. And he said, we just need a volunteer to help run it. And nobody raised their hand. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, these people are so good to me. And they give me so much. And I should be giving back. You shouldn't just be a taker. You shouldn't take without giving back. And okay, so I don't know enough to give them big critique. And so I raised my hand. And I'm really good at scheduling too. So it's like, this isn't beyond my capacity. It's the finding all the authors part that was going to be difficult for me, or at least I thought it would. And I raised my hand and I offered to do it. And as soon as I did, somebody else raised their hand and said, I'll help you.
Wow. There you go.
I'll help you. So at no point was I ever alone in this.
Yeah.
It's been going since 2017. We did have a brief moment during the pandemic where we shut down because it was an in-person event, but now we do it online. And so it's an international event now. And I have to tell you, I'm booked all the way through September of this year.
Wow. That's why you're such a busy person.
I mean, that's part of it, but I'm saying I was scared people weren't going to want to do it.
Yeah.
It was within probably, I want to say 4 to 5 weeks, I had the entire year booked.
That's a pretty interesting story.
But that's not me. Like, that's just,
you
know, who knew it would be so easy to get authors who wanted to share their work? I didn't know. But I've met so many amazing people doing this. Like, I've met authors from all over the world. I've met people in different genres. I've helped them connect with audiences and other writers in their genres. It's like, it's so rewarding. Why was I afraid to raise my hand?
Well, I feel like I need to be a part of this group.
Yes.
I'm sitting like, I need to join this. So,
yeah, and you don't even need to be a part of Henderson Writers Group to showcase your work at Dime Grinds. The whole point is to expose authors to different audiences, not just have the same core group. But you have a book. You should probably read for us.
Oh, I have no problem with doing that, but I definitely would want to come in and just listen and, listen and support for a little bit. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'll let you decide that, but I'm putting it right now. I am going to join the group. So
Excellent.
yeah. So everybody who listens to this podcast is going to be holding me to that. I was like, we're almost at the end of our time. I have to be, very respectful of your time because, you got a lot going on. I do want to ask a couple fun questions because,
okay.
I like, you got a great smile. So let's get it out here.
Shoot.
I'll hit you a little easy to start. Okay. What's your favorite food and why is that your favorite food?
I love capellini bolognese without sausage in it.
Oh, okay.
But if I go someplace and they do put sausage in it, then if you just have like garlic, tomatoes, and basil, oregano, that's all you need. It's just so good.
It sounds good. Do you have some bread with it or anything? No bread or just?
I don't need the bread. It's a nice touch, but it doesn't. I mean, the pasta is good. I could eat that every day.
Okay, I might have to. Now, do you have your own recipe for this?
I do, but it's complicated. It's not one of those things that you could write down. You just have to watch me make it.
I love that. Okay, cool. And my next question for you. You're a writer, so I got to get to you. You're very creative. So if you were the leader of an R&B group, what would be the name of the group and your debut album? What would the title of it be?
It has to be just R&B. It can't be multi-genre music.
Yeah, I just said R&B. Let's just say you're a leader of a group.
Okay, so leader of a group, it would definitely be Dynamite Audio Eject.
Oh, okay.
And that is because it's the initials. It would be me and my siblings. And that's all of our initials. So my initials are TNT. So I'm Dynamite. And my brother, his initials are Car. And my sister, her initials are EJT. And so years ago, we had this thing. We are Dynamite Auto Eject.
And that's actually a very catchy name while you talk, because that'll make people like intrigued, like, well, what genre?
Right. What and the album would be called Boom.
Boom. I like that. We already got it. I hope that the A&R people out here are listening. They're going to come to your door.
Yeah, except I can't sing. I can just barely sing.
Hey, you know what? You can always do poetry with music, and that's the same.
That's true. We can rap.
There it is. Poetry with music is the same thing. So that's pretty cool. I like that. I like that name. So that's
going to be trivia on something someday.
It is. You actually need to go ahead and copyright, trademark that, so if you see that, you definitely need to cover that. So since we're at the end of the time, can you tell people how they can keep in touch with you, how you want them to support everything that you're doing, which is incredible. And even if they want to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, just to find me, I have my website, www.mstonyatodd.com. I'm across all social media at Ms. Tonya Todd. That's MS, not MISS. It's Ms. Tonya Todd.
Ms. Y'all hear that?
There is my podcast, which is the 52 Love podcast. It would be very helpful if people subscribed to that on YouTube and or Spotify. It's on other platforms as well, but those are the two that are my main focus. Yeah. And if you are a writer and you need help or you want to be part of the program, Henderson Writers Group, I'm available. The email for that is education@hendersonwritersgroup.com. I'm available there if you have questions or if you want to know about the meetings or the programs. Because of the conference, we do have some special meetings coming up to help people prepare. Like we have someone, Dr. Wendy Wimmer, she's going to be teaching people how to polish their first pages so that they shine for that program. And then we also have M.M. Fink from Query Quill, and she's going to be teaching people. She's doing a 2-hour presentation on pitches and queries.
Oh, wow.
Just to help people for this conference. And this is, she has a company for this. So she's very generous. So is Dr. Wimmer. They're just both really amazing teachers. That's on the 29th and the 31st of this month. And then we have the conference, April 8th through 10th.
Wow. I'm going to make sure all that's going to be in the show notes when we upload the podcast as well, so people will know how
Thank
to
you.
do it. I got you covered. I got you covered. And I just appreciate you, Ms. Tonya Todd, for being a guest on the Produce Your Own Life show. You really did bless the stage, with your presence.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Like, we haven't even officially met. Like, we have never been in the same room to our knowledge. And it just feels like we could get together and talk for hours. Like, just, meet, have a meal. It just feels like that. So you are an excellent host, and I appreciate you.
Well, thank you once again for sharing some love. I appreciate that. But I just, really appreciate it. It means a lot to me when I have good people who are just represent everything that I'm about. That's why I bring you onto my show, because I love that.
And we have BZ to thank for this connection. Thanks again, BZ.
BZ is the man, and I can't wait to see him again. And we actually met at a film festival. It's probably been maybe 4 years since we met.
Wow.
Yeah, we met at a film festival here, and
in LA.
Yeah, in LA. So that's my guy, But I just want to say thank you. And I want to thank all the listeners, anybody who's going to view this show. Make sure you like and share this show. Make sure you follow, support Ms. Tonya Todd and everything that she's doing to lift us up and use her gifts, man. That's what it's about. I tell everybody, stop watching Inspiring Lives, and it's time to become one. So that's what we're about. That's what we're about right here. And with that being said, we want to show some love to you all. Tonya, don't hang up either. Stay right there. You know how this thing goes, But we want to thank you guys. Remember, share the show, like the show, rate it. If you don't rate it on Apple, they don't show the podcast love. So give it a rating. 5-star rating would be greatly appreciated. So we thank you all, and we love you. With that being said, our show is out of here. And remember, life is a script. It's time to write yours.
Thank you for listening and watching the Produce Your Own Life podcast with Rodney Damon Collins. Be sure to rate, like, subscribe, and share on all podcast and social media platforms. If you have questions or would like to be a guest on the show, feel free to reach out to us anytime at produceyourownlifetv@gmail.com. Remember, life is a script. It's time to write your story. Until next time, produce your own life.